Ooh, man, that was a tough question.
What is a man?
A man?
What is a man?
Everything.
Okay, God created you a man and made you a man. Whether you are a what we call a good man or not, okay, that's another totally different question.
We're so tempted to bend our character to get our way. Being a man is being selfless. And being a man is being a person of service before self.
Definition of a man to me, one who stands on his own, takes care of his family, values, morals, does right by, does what he say he's gonna do. I mean, that's my definition of a man.
That you don't make excuses for anything, because at the end of the day, the world don't care about the excuses of a man. That's basically what my definition was, and that's what it was taught to me.
I feel like this man, someone to take care of their business, someone that can, just make sure everything's okay, good, everybody got mistakes, but,
Someone that already has gone through life experiences, a person that doesn't doubt himself, a person that knows that has a higher purpose than just himself.
It's challenging. It's challenging. Today's world is not what yesterday's world. Yesterday's was easy to be a man. Take care of your house, respect your wife, respect your children, else the link. Today's world is so many layers to be a man to, it's almost unexplained.
Acts out his beliefs. So the idea that if you don't carry out your beliefs, then you don't truly believe in that. So just being faithful and doing what you have to do to
really is a pillar of the community.
I have a story. I was at work and I'm jamming Beyonce. I think it was like Me, Myself, and I or something. And I'm jamming. At first, right? All the guys are kind of like, not really saying nothing. Like, man, get on so around, like that. But once they saw that I was doing it and the chicks was feeling it, then all of a sudden, they know every word. So I'm like, you've been listening to Beyonce, but you do it in your car by yourself. Or you do it at your house when you're alone, but you'll never do that in front of a girl or another man. Why? Be free. Be comfortable in your own skin. Like I said, with the definition of a man is whatever you say it is. You know what I mean? So, because we are so complex, human beings, period, but men are also. But these barriers that we've created that don't make sense, that a man can't do this, a straight man can't do this, a straight man can't do that looks sus, that look that, is put constraints on our expression. Because a lot of us are artists at heart. You know what I mean? An artist, you have to be free to express yourself the way you see fit. You know what I mean? So that would be my biggest advice, is to learn to be comfortable in your own beautiful black skin. How did your upbringing affect how you interact with women in relationships?
They loved each other dearly. I saw them kiss often, hold hands often. I saw them flirt with each other. But I also saw, like a good Hispanic family, saw all the things that I picked up on before I gave my life to Jesus, which was my dad flirted. He would flirt with women that weren't his wife. He probably didn't mean anything by it, or maybe he did. I also saw the aspect of, when they're arguing, the woman was hyperly submissive. And that caused the confusion of what submission is and what honoring submission is. And there's a difference.
Just my family in general on both sides has always been worship a woman of what they're worth, My dad didn't have a father. He was raised around all women, so all he knew was to treat a woman right. My mother had 3 sisters and 1 brother, so she was surrounded by women, and that has been put upon me to see nothing but strong women. So my family and my parents and relationships it's impacted me to, treat a woman right, treat a woman respectfully, because that's all I've ever known. That's all I've ever seen. So that has been an impactful part on me, that to be that respectful man, to always be grateful to the woman, to always, treat them the right way, because I know that how powerful a woman can be, how great they can be in a relationship. So that has been impactful on me. I haven't seen so much disrespecting to a woman in a relationship or anything like that. So I'll go off what I know. And since that's all I've been seeing and always grew up with, and I know that to work because my parents are still married, so I'm gonna go with the formula that I know and see working my entire life.
I didn't see a lot of togetherness in my parents. I didn't see a lot of love. All I saw is two people raising kids. And I think that's one of my biggest struggles. That I'm mostly about my kids, my relationship second, and I haven't been able to shake that.
I think I probably think God had me in a couple of females' lives to be there for purposes He had me there for that had nothing to do with sex. But since, it's kind of hard once you have that image, because it's like you're battling yourself. On one hand, like I said, you have the women in my family, and, what they instilled in me and what I saw from them, and the positive attributes, you have that side, and you have the side fighting that that the men kind of influenced. So you have both of those fighting. So I was always kind of saw women as women, genuine friendships, but also there was that underlying, like, wanting to have sex, wanting it to be more, wanting to kind of push the boundary and, kind of go beyond. So I would say that both of those, I had both of those influences, positive and negative.
My mother is on her 8th marriage, maybe 7th marriage, one of these. And so I haven't seen families work. I haven't seen, in my mom's side of the family, I don't know my father's side. I haven't seen relationships be like great and long standing. But also, I never doubted that could exist. So I'm not someone who's like, I never saw it, so I didn't think it was possible. It's like, I knew it was possible. I know it's possible. And so what I've seen, what I've been through, and who I am, right? So my family was shit, but like I was telling them who I am. It hasn't really influenced my relationships. I think it influenced my ability to be openly queer and live an openly queer life. And so that impacted, dating men. But I think outside of that, and maybe that's where it is. Yeah, it impacted my ability to date as an adult male.
Ooh. I was raised by a single mother, so it was some things that I couldn't have got from her that I would have got from a man that could have made, some of the decisions I make with women a little bit better.
If you have an unexpected baby, do you feel pressure to marry that person?
No, I've had multiple unexpected babies. The pressure to marriage, I'm not real keen or big on the word marriage. Society's definition of it, honestly. I love what I love, and me personally, I don't love marriage, but I love the idea of love, but I'm not gonna let a baby pressure me into saying, oh, this person is my life partner, or things like that, because things happen, so.
No, I didn't feel pressure to marry her, but the pressure comes at that point. You have to make sure that she's all right in lieu of making sure that you're okay. So, at some point it's more like you're a team more than having to marry. It's like you'll always be family or something, more so.
No, you don't. No. You can always be a father without being married to the mother. Now, do I advise that? No. But I do feel that every man should be in his child's life. You man enough to lay there and make it, be man enough to take care of it.
That's old school thinking. I think you want to spend your life with someone that you feel comfortable with, not because of a mistake or something that occurred to you. You gotta take responsibility, regardless what happened, regardless anything. It's your son, and you gotta provide for that and take care of their mom as well. When you want sex, but your partner does not, what do you do?
That's a great question. What do I do? Probably go hoop. Exercise, release those endorphins. Go on a walk. Especially in the evening time, it's the perfect time for a walk.
Big. They like you to beg, you know that, right?
Yeah. So it's that having to be patient, which I haven't always been, which I probably need to be more, is being patient and understanding that she's still trying to figure out things when it comes to that world. And, and then sometimes women just don't want to do it, we, all the time, like, we see our women get out the shower, we ready, it's like, ooh. But I do get a little frustrated sometimes, but I'm working on myself. The Lord ain't through with me yet.
Keep my hands to myself. I think I do try to push the button a little with like joking, but other than that, I really don't do anything. I'll go home and handle it myself. I don't know if it's that bad.
Why do men cheat?
Because monogamy is not real. And the reason why we have these really weird requirements on people, like, our spouses can go and work, 9 hours a day or 12 hours a day and sweat like a dog and spend all his time with, it's like we value the wrong things. And I feel as though I hate cheating because like cheap, because it's not a real word, it's not a real thing. There's some agreements. If the agreements were established, then yes. But if we hadn't had that discussion of like what a relationship is and what I need, what you need, do you need monogamy? If no, not, then you need. So I think I think men cheat because monogamy is not real.
I think it kind of goes back to the first thing which I said is a big factor, which is trust. They maybe seen an example of a relationship that had minimal trust on both ends, and then two, that's kind of how they feel about the relationship they're in.
The most prevalent that I've seen is, to be honest with you, is men have been given poor examples of what a man of character, a man of honor looks like. And so the more manly, the more promiscuous, the more flirtatious, the more that's a man, a pimp, right? They don't ever see the part of like honoring their spouse or their girlfriends and just desiring one woman. I think that takes greater strength. The second reason is a lot of men have really, really poor self-esteem. They have a very low self-image of themselves. One of the things that's really foreign to me is porn addiction. But since it's foreign, I've lent an open ear and an open heart to hear the cases of people struggling with porn, and you see the same story over and over. And I don't mean this in a derogatory way, but they were fat, they were nerds, they were picked on, they were bullied, no one paid attention to them, and when they grew older, they got unnerdy, they lost weight, they learned how to dress, they learned how to talk, and all of a sudden, they get attention from women, and they feel validated by being promiscuous with someone that is not their girlfriend, fiance, or wife. The third reason I think really is it's a kind of like a trendy thing to do amongst males. They think it's cool to talk about how they got a side piece. I mean, it's in rap songs. I make jokes about it. I always say my wife is my main piece and my side piece. So it's even in the culture, so I think those are the main reasons men cheat.
Would you say relationships get easier or harder the longer you're in them? easy doesn't exist. Doesn't get harder either. I think they just evolve. Unless you're a person without further aspirations, ambitious, you're just gonna be stagnated. So relationships, they just have to evolve. You have to be willing to evolve as different life phases occur.
I think we were actually talking about this the other day, me and Valencia. The longer you're in a relationship, the harder it is to sustain what you call love. I think when your foundation of your relationship is based off of love, I think it's kind of easier for it to fall apart. Because love does fade, but also comes back. So it's kind of hard to keep a balance in a relationship when it's just built off of love. So I think a lot of things you have to do as far as the work to keep a relationship going the way it needs to go, that's the hard part. Communication, learning your spouse or learning your significant other, and things like that are key to keeping a relationship afloat. But I think from the conception of a relationship to its end, everything in the middle, as long as it goes, gets harder and harder.
That's a two-part question. It does get easier because you become you know each other more. At the same time, it gets harder to keep it as spicy. It's very easy to get complacent in a relationship. So you have to do what it takes to keep that relationship spicy.
A relationship can go the way, just like life, the way you want it to go. It's all about perspective. If you go in with the perspective or if you go in with the mindset that this is going to be hard, every day is going to be hard, then it's going to be hard. But if you do the things and put in the work, which I've heard like older people say before I got into like relationships, you got to put in the work for real. The more work you put in, the better results are going to be. So I feel like it could be easier or harder depending on your perception and your perspective and how you do things.
So when you're having mental health struggles, is there a specific song that you go to put you in good spirits, or more than one song, or is there something you go to music-wise to get you in the right space?
Yeah, I have a couple. One definitely be J. Cole, Love Yours. It's just a real truthful song. J. Cole, like myself, is a realist. So, and if it wasn't for the name Jesus, Kurt Franklin, Hezekiah Walker, I believe, something like that. Yeah, I like that song.
Something about the name Jesus.
Oh, yeah.
So if I'm going through some things, this is a song called Far From Here by Kendrick Lamar and Schoolboy Q. If I'm going through anything, I listen to that song, put some old school R&B on, I feel like a female when I say this, put some Mary J. Blige on, but yeah, put those in.
She listen to Just Fine?
Oh yeah, Man, I be in the house jamming today. Yeah. What's that other song by Mary J. Blige when I Cry No More?
No more.
Yeah. Boy, you know the song.
Okay. Was mental health awareness a concept you talked about during your childhood?
No, not really. I mean, honestly, growing up, I was one of those kids they labeled as like bad or ADHD, and they try to put me on medicine and try to, that basically just, I don't know. I think that affected me growing up, like as far as just not being able to express myself. Like I feel like the medicine actually like kind of just dumbed me down a little bit, like just suppress my feelings and things like that.
As us as men, we were taught don't show your emotions, pretty much. And we weren't like told that, but the example was don't show your emotions. I've never seen my dad show, other than anger, I've never seen him show any emotions while I was growing up.
Absolutely not in the home, because it's not something we dealt with during the time I was growing. We just took things as they came and, accepted them as they came. You learn through experience. And any emotional intelligence that we learned at that time, we learned like secondhand. It may have been at school, may have been from friends, may have been from life experiences.
It wasn't until I got into my adult age that I saw my dad cry, saw my dad like laugh, really laugh. But it was, don't cry before I give you something to cry about. It was, go pray. Prayer was the answer to everything. Instead of asking the questions like, why do you feel this way? We weren't asked those type of questions to be able to think about, okay, why am I crying? Why do I feel this way? Why am I frustrated? Things like that. So, yeah, no, we were not taught any of that.
Depends on who is describing it.
Okay.
Some depending on where you were born, the dynamic of your family. Some would describe it as being soft. Some would describe it as just seeking attention, acting out. So it just depends on who you're talking to. But me personally, the soft type of mentality.
But I was focusing on other weaknesses instead of my emotional intelligence, and I realized it a little bit late when it was the last thing that, in order for me to be the best person and to be more comfortable with myself, I need to manage my emotions better. I have always been good at that, but I was not the best yet.
Mostly, or more directly by my mother, but indirectly by my father. Or at least that's how I picked it up and how I reflect on it. My mom would speak more directly on how to handle your emotions, but in that same light, I was also asking her more. And my dad was, whenever I'd come to him with problems, say stuff along the lines of, I think your head is in the right place. Was I taught it? I'm not sure what grade I would have gotten if it was a class, especially if there was free response answers. That's difficult. I'm not sure. I'm going to say not a lot, though, because I'm not sure what emotional regulation looks like.
Have you ever been to therapy?
Oh, of course, yes. Marriage therapy. I've been to marriage therapy. Even in therapy, one of my kids, my youngest kid, therapy, and it helps out a lot. I think whatever it takes to make your family stronger, then that's what you do. Whatever it takes. If it takes therapy, someone from the outside looking in with they have no biased opinion, I think therapy is good for that.
I haven't gotten around to it yet, but I will say I'm looking for more affordable options. It's not very accessible for everyone, I'll say. If you don't know, you don't know. So I think that's probably the number one thing.
It's good if you go to the right person, obviously. But I've been, man, and it's like you don't know what you don't know, right? So it's like I went to because I was dealing with some things, and I was like, let's give it a try, because I'm a big believer in accountability, so I can fix this myself, type thing. But I just went that one time, like, maybe I can't fix it, so let me try this out, man. And the things that she was asking me, once again, it opened up other things, it triggered other things, and so it made me you know, in math and people, I hate this. I hate this that people always say math is not. You don't use that in today's world. Well, the math that I took, my teacher, it's crazy how this comes full circle. But my algebra 1 teacher in high school, right? I used to know the answer. Like she used to give me a problem, and I used to know the answer, and I just write the answer on the thing. But she would like mark my stuff wrong because she wanted a complete breakdown, and I hate her to this day because of this. But she wanted a complete breakdown of how I got to my answer. And when I think about it today, it comes full circle because it's like you want to get to the root cause of the issue. So going back to the therapy, it got to the root cause of what the problem was that I wasn't aware of until I actually went to therapy. So yeah, I have been to therapy and it was a great help.
One is I believe that we need therapy because we've lost community. And we don't have people with whom we can share ourselves and spread across ourselves, right? So we are each of us in ourselves are so many different people, and we don't have anyone to like exercise those people with because we don't have friends and community to share those stories and to get advice, right? We have to pay for someone to tell us something that they read in the book about us. They don't know us from Adam, right? They only know what we tell them, right? And so when we lost community, into therapy because we kind of outsourced it to capitalism. So that's my thing. So I say that I have community, and so that enables, or it's like therapy is cool, but community is better.
Traumatized me, but what I realized as I worked through those traumas, my ego became the coping mechanism to deal with those traumas. Anytime I'm triggered, it's triggering from that trauma. And what I've come to realize that if I remove my ego from it, I'm self-preserving, right? If I remove my ego, I think people that use hallucinogenic drugs or psilocybin, they call it ego death. It's this place you go to where you're like, your ego is gone. You almost have to go to that place. The thing that triggers me the most is a lack of loyalty, which is ego-driven. When people lie to me, which is ego-driven, everybody lies. Everybody lies to everybody. But for some reason, I lose it when they lie to me. I can't believe they lied to me. Why? It's about me. Loyalty. Rarely will you find truly, like those people are lifelong friends I talked about, but I want everybody, if I'm going to be honest with you, I want everybody to be loyal to me. Well, that's impossible. Because sometimes we don't align on certain things. So my ego is the thing that triggers me the most. I heard Mike Tyson recently say the reason he's fat is because when he's thin or he's in shape, his ego gets the best of him. So one of the ways he stays humble is he's just kind of flabby and doesn't take care of himself. You know what I mean? There are certain things I do that I think are those things for me. So the trigger is actually my ego.
Family piece, family issues. When my family's going through something, it takes a toll on me. Whether it's my children, siblings, my children, my mom. That's something that I carry. I carry that weight. And sometimes I wish I didn't, but I don't know how to put it down. Yeah.
Like imperfection. From my standards, I mean, nothing's perfect, but knowing that I'm not doing things to a certain level or certain capabilities that'll mess with me.
Probably disorganization, poor communication, not being able to communicate with people I care about. You know what I mean? Like last month we did accountability April, and that was huge for me, just being able to talk to you, Al, my brothers, my older brother. Like having that is something that keeps me grounded. Like I can pray all day, I can be in close communication with God, but we're supposed to be in community, so when I don't have that tight-knit community, that's not good for me, so.
describe what the pressure is like being a dad?
Oh yes, man. Being a dad is 100% worries, and a lot of times because the dad are the disciplinary of the family, so you're the bad guy at times. But one thing that I had, working with older men, my coworker told me when I first had my oldest kid, these hands here are for love and to hug. Don't ever whoop your kids with your hand. Hug them with your hand. Discipline them with a belt. And I tried to take that advice.
How would you like your children to remember you?
As a hero. I didn't let them down. That if they needed me, they knew where to go. I wasn't there to stop them from falling, but they did. I picked them up.
Remember you?
That I was there, constantly.
Someone that never gave up. A person that if can wear a suit going to work, or can go and grab a hammer and nails to go and work, to provide. Someone that he was a fighter, someone that has a word, that cares for people. That's how I would like to be remembered.
So yeah, what's the fondest memory of your father?
Yeah, your papa was a seaman, so he was coming home from a voyage to India, and when he came back to India, he had his presents, and he brought me and Ernest Jr. Nehru suits. Mine was gold and Ernest was white, and that's the fondest memory I have of him, because we didn't expect that, and they were all tailor made. My mama sent him the sizes, and then he had a tailor make them over there.
Yeah, when I went through my divorce, I was sitting on my porch, and back then it was hurtful, but now it taught me to be a man. I sit on the porch and I was actually crying, and he said, "It hurt, huh, son?" I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "You're going to find somewhere else to cry and leave my porch." But that was he wasn't being. That was strong love, telling me, "Man, hey, now get up, move around. We ain't gonna do this." That was my fondest memory of my dad. We have a lot, but that's the one that sticks with me, and it would never leave. That's the one that I want to pass on to my children. That remember him that day, him telling me, "Be strong, get up off this porch, and go on with your life."
I wouldn't say it's technically a memory, but the relationship me and my father have. We always been we keep it honest with each other. We always tell the truth to each other, tell how each other feels. We have always been that way. So, funny story. Dealing with you, matter of fact. So, yeah, I'm gonna tell the story. So, I was at work. It was one of your birthday parties. Yeah, I remember I told you I couldn't make it, but I ended up having to work. I didn't get off till like 9 o'clock that night. So, he ends up calling me at work, pretty much going smooth off on me. Telling me that you a man, you gotta keep your word, and when you decide you want to do something, you gotta be there for the occasion. And so you sitting there thinking like, hold up, wait. So I hang up, I'm yes sir, because you revert back to that child state. And so I hang up the phone. And then it dawns on me, hold up, wait, I'm married, I got my own house. Oh, he ain't just about to call and yell at me like that. So I call him back. He answers the phone. I say, "Hey man, look at it." And he hangs the phone up in my face. And the reason he said he hangs the phone up in his face is, he said, "I know I was in the wrong. But what most parents do wrong is they want to sit there and listen to their child go off on them. I know I was in the wrong. So I'm not about to give my child that chance to go off on me. That ruins the relationship forever." So that was one of the funniest and fond moments I remember having with my old man.
There's so many. Me and my dad spent a lot of time. He's like my best friend. He was like an older brother. So I can't say I have a fondness, because it's like a clip. It just rolls. Like seeing him playing spades when we'd be at a barbecue, slapping a card on his face in the middle of a game, getting ejected, talking trash to the refs and the fans, while sitting in the opposing bleachers by himself. Yeah, big nuts.
Yeah. Anytime that he allowed me into his space of the things that he liked to do, I think those are my fondest memories. Even now, because my dad, he's a mechanic. So the one thing that I always know now, I didn't know then, but I know now is he ain't going to be here all the time. So bringing my car to him or bringing my truck to him for anything, I have to learn how to do all that stuff. So now we spend a lot more time as far as instead of him just working outside on something, I'll be out there with him asking him questions. What is this? What is that? And I think anything that allowed me to be in his space where he was doing something that he loved, I think those are some of the fondest memories I have. Even as a kid, just playing basketball in the driveway while he's working on a truck, and then just going over there watching him. We didn't talk a lot, but just him not telling me to go sit down or go back over there and play basketball was a good time.
You know, we go fishing a lot. My dad is a guy that he was very few words, but when he give advice, it's gonna be sound advice. And I used to love when we sit down and take a ride, or he take a ride and just talk.
What would you say?
Again, I was a sophomore in high school. Stayed after school for some reason. Called my parents to come get me, and waited outside of the school for them to come. My dad showed up because, you know, the way our school is, you probably remember the cafeteria is there, and I was waiting right on the outside. My dad showed up in this, it was like a metallic blue, dark blue Mustang. Chrome rims, which was very popular at the time. Dual exhaust, it looked good. Didn't run worth anything, but it looked good. And when you're 16 years old, that's most important. And he got out of the car and he said, "Here, you want to drive?" I said, "Yeah." And I got in it. We riding home, driving. I'm driving home. My dad, and I asked my dad, "Well, whose car is this?" He said, "It's yours. I just bought it for you." And even at that time, as happy as I was, I didn't realize the significance it would have on my memories with my dad. You know.
Is there anything that you wanted to tell your father that you either couldn't at the time or haven't told him yet?
I think I keep an open communication with him. Everything I said, tell him. So, but I will never get tired to tell him thank you for all his teaching. Thank you for always having my back. Thank you for supporting me. I always say that to him, but still, you know, I would like to emphasize it.
Just to tell him I love him, because he wasn't a man that was easy to tell you love. You know, he was a strong man that we just didn't say that to each other. You know, and I would like to, if I could turn back the hands of time, that's the one thing I would say to him.
Do you remember?
First of all, you ain't no man. I ain't gonna do that.
I ain't gonna make you cry.
Nah, but for a fact though, the one thing I always hope I did in this life is make you proud. Because it's a lot of stuff that goes around and stuff that people can get into, but the one thing that always kept me from doing anything was the way my father looks at me. And there's always been big motivation for me. Even if I fall or don't feel like getting up, I always remember, shoot, your daddy getting up, why you can't get up? Same bloodline. And I love you for that. Because at the end of the day, a lot of people don't have that. So I say every day, I'm blessed to have a father that will stick up for me and loves me no matter what I do. And hopefully, like I said at the beginning, I just hope I always made you proud.
being truthful in this point, at this point, I hated him for a little while because I felt that he could do more to be with us as as his children. He would be with my mom all the time, but as his children, I felt at the time you could do more to be with us. I play a lot of games. You could come to 1, 2 maybe, but to come to none, I hated him for a long time. But I really feel like now, like I said earlier, understanding fatherhood and what it took at that point, there's a lot of healing that happened with me personally to where I can get away from that. I have not discussed this with him yet. It's probably something I need to discuss with him so he can know. I'm fine at this point. But I think the ultimate healing is letting him know, and us having that discussion. I think that's a part of our rehabilitation in our relationship.
You missed it. You missed it. And then the thing is, you got the chance to be a part of this. You got the chance to do it again, and you still messing it up. You still messing it up. I forgive you for all the things that you did to me. I grew up, I'm good. I didn't miss anything. Like, I got a man who showed me how to be a man. He wasn't even my biological father. He showed me how to shave. He taught me how to do everything that a man, he taught me how to look a man in the eyes when I'm talking to him, shake a man's hand firmly. You know, he taught me about aura and presence when you walk in a room. He told me you ain't gotta be the loudest one in the room, but when you talk, let them know you're there. He taught me everything that I needed to know, so I didn't miss nothing. But to my biological father, like you missed it. You missed it, and you're missing it.
I would tell him that I will always have forgiven him. I'm a child. You know, we don't have that impulse to not forgive. And I believe I told him that I loved him before. I definitely told him I loved him, but I didn't tell him I love him in a way that I think would have healed him if I were to like say specifically the ways in which I love him and why I love him. I think that could have done some more healing. I did tell him that I love him on his dying bed when he called me finally after years. But I would tell him that I love him.
Do you remember the last conversation you had with your dad?
Man, the last conversation, yeah, it was tough. It's like a movie. Like, if you ever seen Game of Thrones, it was like really quiet. It was like I woke up and he was yelling from downstairs because I was still staying with him. I was taking care of him because he was sick. And he was about to leave. It really I got up slow. I was coming out to say bye, but as soon as I got to where I would see him down underneath the stairs, the door closed and I walked away, and it was just really quiet. And that was the last time I seen him in person. And then there was a lot of texting that day. But yeah, it was very, I think back on it, it was very hard because it was I didn't really get to say, goodbye. So.
Mind you, I don't talk to him often, so when I did talk to him, I was asking, what's up with our relationship? Mind you, I'm a 30-year-old man, so it's what's up with our bond, and I was asking him, why we don't talk as much, we need to change it up a little, try to connect a little bit more, and I just felt like the conversation was just dry still, so I kind of let it go. For the simple fact, I love my kids, to death. Nothing I wouldn't do for them in the world, nothing I won't do to see them smile. I know for a fact I'm gonna love them till they're old and gray. So I don't understand how my dad don't love me. You know what I'm saying? Like I got 4 siblings. You know, so it's like I don't know. I don't know. Maybe he wasn't loved properly, but it's like I wasn't loved properly either. So it's like I don't know.
My twin brother and I was standing at the foot of his bed, and we rarely seen my dad cry. And we seen the tears come down his eyes. And it still hurts today to think about that, because my dad was such a strong man. So I think about that often.
My last conversation with my dad was when he was actually in the home. When I told him, "You're tired, rest. I got the family."
This past weekend, and we talk about life.
Could you be more specific, or do you want to be more specific? If you don't want to,
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
We were going over at what point in life I am at this moment, and how his advice 20 years ago, if I would have followed them, I would be in a way different position. So in this case, career-wise, I remember I was here in Houston. I was going back to Mexico to finish my career as an engineer, and he told me, "Don't do it." So for me, it was a shock. An advice from my dad telling me not to complete my engineering career when he's an engineer, and what all the time in life you want to be someone by going to school, but you want to be someone by working for someone. So he saw that education is a good way for networking. That's what I see now, but it's not a good way for you to be successful. It's just that a way that we've been brainwashed all this time. And we hear that question all the time. Who do you want to work for? What do you want to be? Who do you want to be when you're older? And what that is telling me now is that who do you want to be your master? Who do you want to, sacrifice your time, your effort, your sweat, your stress for, instead of doing it for myself?
How did you come to this place of forgiveness? Because I think it's important for the people that will see this to hear, because a lot of people, probably including myself, Kendrick Lamar just had a song on his new album where he's talking about daddy issues, right? So a lot of people hold on to things that their parents did to them. So I think it's important to hear somebody kind of speak on how they got to a place of healing and forgiveness.
I remember the moment when he called me when he was passing, and that's the only reason why he called me, because he knew he didn't have any more time to live. And I realized that he has daddy issues, that he had daddy issues, right? His dad wasn't in his life. And so I realized then I was dealing with a very different man. I wasn't dealing with my father and the role of like, he produced me. I was dealing with a man, right, who had his own set of issues with his father and grew up gangbanging and grew up, he was a 2-striker in California. So that means, one more strike, he'd have been in jail forever. Right. And so like he had a hard life. And so I had to be compassionate towards the man that he was. Right. And then I repositioned him from saying, okay, this is your experience. You didn't have a dad. You grew up rough. You had to figure it out. And then you lucked up. Right. You moved to Vegas and you created a new family. Wham. I have to just take you as the man that you are. And then I can forgive you once I realize, oh crap, like you didn't have it either. And I have a choice. If I do not forgive this man, I will hold that unforgiveness in my spirit and my body and my soul. And all it does is it gives me something to point back to, like, oh, I didn't have a dad, so X, Y, Z. And so for me, I learned to like have compassion on the man that he was and forgive the man that he was. Now I was still fucked up, right? Like, and I dream about having a father, and like, when I was buying my first house, like, whatever, all this stuff that you just want to call a dad about, that, if my car breaks down, like, I just don't have an older man that I can call for like man stuff. And so that does suck. But I don't harbor forgiveness. I just know that I enjoy going to the park and watching dads be dads, and like I relish in some child somewhere. A lot of children in a lot of places are having really great experiences with their father, and so I love to watch it. And I give that energy back out to the earth and to the world, instead of like harboring unforgiveness from my father, which I'm grateful to be here. I know that dealing with him as a man he is, forgiving the man that he is, and so I can put him back, reposition him as like, okay, you are my father, but you are still a man. And then looking forward to my own fatherhood if I'm able to experience it, but really just admiring the dads that are there in my own way.